Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about the Numenera WUBRG campaign season 1, and we pick it up where Wentworth has now gone back to his regular time. He's with the Servan, the awakened deer people, and he goes into another memory with them, a guided memory to remember the age of magic. So the age of the Sunax was the third age. In Numenera, you're in the ninth age. The age of magic is the fifth age, and this is the age of magic. And what that means is that at one point in the fifth age, and this takes and actually the exact time on Earth. This is still Earth, right? So to be clear, Numenera takes place on Earth 1 billion years in the future, right? And in the ninth age, and that's where we started the campaign. And then we went back, and he had essentially a guided memory of the third age, and now he's going to experience the fifth age, right? And this is when the Earth was completely remade, right? Was a wave of magic washed across America, right? And then poured across the rest of the Earth, and completely reshaped the Earth into a Dungeons and Dragons like medieval European fantasy setting with elves, humans, dwarves, fantasy creatures, right? And fantasy species, okay? Dragons, the whole nine, right? So Wentworth now goes into this guided memory of when he lived, and we go into the fantasy age, okay? Now, at this point, the gold player gets to choose his species and his class. So he chooses literally a cat person, right? So in this, he is essentially a Leonin or Tabaxi, a human. So he's human size, medium, like you would say in Dungeons and Dragons, 6 feet tall, and he's transformed into a Bearcat. And so basically, since he was a Bearcat, which was, the human American gridiron football team on the moon Io of Jupiter, on the Io, the moon on Jupiter, he was a Bearcat. That was the name of his team. When the fantasy world comes, he's literally remade into a Bearcat, and he takes the name Bearcat, right? But his class is Rogue. And this is moving into, so his species is Bearcat. Think of a Tabaxi or a Leonin, somewhere in the middle there, right? And then his class is Rogue, right? And then we start the campaign with him having been awakened for 6 months. And he has been and he was awakened in the Magic Age by adventurers who actually adventured into the Onyx Station, thought it was a cave, and then awakened him out of his timeless chamber. He then stopped them from awakening any of the other people in the chambers, and then went out and became an adventurer, right? And one of the reasons why he didn't have anybody else come out was he didn't understand why he was in the form of a Bearcat. And also, to be clear, when we start this, he does not know why the world has been reshaped into this fantasy world. Now, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Before he transitions to the next age, he does solve this mystery, and I'm just going to tell you the answer to the mystery now, because he does find this mystery out before he returns to the Servan. But I just kind of want to give it to you now, since I'm talking about the mystery. So the mystery was, so basically, the Sunax were in the year 3600, and then in the year 380,000, the world was reshaped with magic that came through from another magical world. Now, how did that happen? How did the magic of another world wash over the Earth and reshape everything on Earth into this magical realm, like a Dungeons and Dragons realm? Well, here's how it happened. So basically, the super collider that we have in France, they continue to make those, right? And they put them all over the Earth, and then they tried a chained singularity, right? And so the scientists were like, doing their experiments just like they do today. They're like, hey, let's take a particle and accelerate and see what happens, right? And so what ended up happening was they absolutely shattered the veil between worlds, and specifically those holes in the ozone. Once they did the chain singularity, all it did was absolutely pierce every single hole in our ozone. And essentially, this other world, which is Quarn. Actually, I'm sorry, it's not Quarn. It's Orvang. This other world, this other magical world, I'm forgetting the realm name right now. It is in my notes, which are in the link below. So basically, this other, realm, essentially was a magic world. The veil is pierced through on the realm side, right? And it's pierced on the earth side in all of these ozone layer, and so essentially what happens is it pierces the veil between this world and the other world, and all of that world's magic pours into earth like an ocean with the cork pulled off the bottom, right? And it literally washes over the earth, and it takes like 3 weeks to wash completely over the earth, but it remakes all of the earth into a fantasy realm because its magic literally pours into earth. Okay, now what happens to that other world? Well, all of its magic is dumped into earth, and essentially it kills 90% of the people who lived in that other place because they can't live without magic, and the few that could become these gray husk doppelgangers, right? Like, not even doppelgangers, they don't copy anything, they're just these gray moving husks of living beings, and that world becomes a wastescape, like a complete wastegate, right? And so this is not like, so, the whole point is, hey, maybe don't use the super collider if you don't know what it's going to do. So that's what happened, and it very much fits Numenera. Numenera, is like, so one of the things that Numenera says is, nobody knows what this Numenera is. It could be aliens, it could be magic, it could be nano. I despise that. I absolutely hate that part of the game, but it is tactical infinity. So Dungeons & Dragons created tactical infinity, and of course Monty Cook was a Dungeons & Dragons designer and just kind of put some tactical infinity in his briefcase before he left the Wizards of the Coast office and brought it to his game, right? So basically, when me and the Gold player were thinking about this campaign, we were like, well, what is it? Is it alien technology? Is it magic? Or is it nano? And the Gold player said, why can't it be all of them, right? And I was like, oh man, that's interesting. And then I was like, sequentially, right? So I will say, I absolutely love the Numenera system. It is truly, truly incredible system. Really unique, really special. I love what it accomplishes. All right, so that's how the world became magical, right? So at this point, he has been there for 6 months, and he has 2 friends in the world, Lady Ray Luna and Gurnagar, the wizard. Okay, now these guys are, Lady Ray Luna is an elf fighter, and she uses a spear. Okay, and Gurnagar is an old wizard, aka Gandalf. Very, very Gandalf-like, very powerful, very secretive. He does hang around with he doesn't do as much split the party as Gandalf does. But essentially, so at this point, I explained to him, you are in the kingdom of Belvoir, and King Belvoir, of course, is the king of Belvoir. And so the king's name and the realm name are the same, right? And of course it's a title and that's that's his family name. So King Belvoirs have gone back for generations, right? Now, and again, that happens because the world was remade with its own history, right? Very unusual, right? But also, to be clear, this character, the Gold player, recently said that. He says, so I am a hero of destiny. And I'm like, yeah, that's correct, right? So you already know that you're alive in the 3rd age. You already know that you are alive in the 5th age. And you can die in this campaign. And that will mean that when you wake up in the 9th world, you'll be something other than human, right? Because humans don't resurrect, right? But it's even possible that, he would be resurrected. Yeah, anyway, I said you won't be human, right? And so So right now, the gold player is hoping to make it through each one of these different times, right? The age of the alien invasion, the age of magic, and the age of nano, right? And then pop out the other side as human, still as human, right? So basically, he's in the kingdom of Belvor, and the kingdom of Belvor has recently created a new peace with the kingdom of Quarn. So kingdom of Quarn is right next to Belvor, and basically, the kingdom of Quarn and the kingdom of Belvor were battling each other, and they were using traditional soldiers and they were using wizards, right? They were also had clerics on the ground as well, right? And the wizards like really ramped up the battle, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people were dying, right? And so finally, Belvor and Quarn were like, okay, we need a peace, right? So how are we going to do this? So what they did was they said, okay, we're both going to retire. Like they treated wizards like nukes, okay? They're like, we're going to retire all our wizards. We're going to change the way that they function, right? So they created this thing called a tome wall. And they made all spell books illegal, and every wizard had to give their spell book to the kingdom, to the king. And then the king mounted those spell books on a tome wall, a wall that was built between the kingdom of Quarn and the kingdom of Belvor. And then all wizards, including Gurnagar, right, then can cast any spells from any of the spell books on the tome wall that are on there, that are actually, the wizards can access both sides, right? They can access books on both sides. They can read them, right? And what they do is they use their arcane focus and they pull magic. They cast any spell that's printed on the that is in one of these mounted books that are on the spell wall, right? Or on the tome wall, right? So these spell books are on the tome wall, and they're spaced every 20 feet, right? And they're magically warded. They're protected against rain. They're protected against theft, right? And the entire wall is magically warded, okay? But wizards can access all the spells in all the books on the tome wall. But when they pull the spell from the tome wall, they have to do it through their arcane focus, and it takes their life force, right? So if they do it wrong, they can die, right? And it's always costly. Literally, they have to pay hit points to access these spells. So, but this works, right? Like all the spells are shared across Quarn and Belvor, and this does create a very powerful piece, right? Now, in addition, this actually is so successful with these spell books that both the Queen of Quarn and the King of Belvor decide to put all their lore books up there as well, right? So they add the lore books on there, and now they can share these, and now all this lore is shared, right? It can be read even by the public, right? And by the way, one of the aspects of the tome wall is that it can actually write on the wall all the information that's in the book that is mounted on that section of the wall, right? So people start reading these all of the public, right? Begin either reading or having read to them these lore books, right? And the lore books talk about these socketed weapons, right, that are up in the north, beyond both Belvor and Quarn, okay? And it talks about these socketed weapons. Now, okay, let's talk about the socketed weapons. So now Belvor and Quarn are like, oh, there's these powerful weapons we need to go get. Let's get them, right? And they're both excited about this, right? Actually, this is read on the Belvor side, and they don't pay attention to it on the Quarn side. But King Belvor's like, yo, I want these socketed weapons. Let's send out a team to get these socketed weapons. Now, let me explain what goes on with these socketed weapons. So first of all, Numenera, I've never seen a system like this where because it divorces itself from medieval European fantasy, and I know I injected that right back in, it really allows you to use material from any system, right? And so what I did is I went back to Runehammer. I love Runehammer games, right? But nobody knows Index Card RPG, right? And no one is excited about it, right? So like my gold player was like, hey, I want to play Numenera because I've heard of it. He had never really heard of Index Card RPG, or he had never encountered anybody who was excited about it. And that is the case, right? Runehammer's games are absolutely amazing, but they are absolutely super hidden. No one knows about them. It's absolutely a thing. So this socketed weapon thing, this comes from Relics of Odium. All right. Now I highly recommend this. It's like a 20-page pamphlet. It's not a pamphlet, but it's not really a book and it's not really an adventure. It's a source book that talks about magical socketed weapons. And it presents 5 gems, and then it presents 5 weapons that can take these different 5 gems, right? And then they do different things when the weapons are socketed, right? And again, this is just an absolute sleeper. I read Relics of Odium probably, when did I read Relics of Odium? I read Relics of Odium probably 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, right? And I've never forgotten it. And I've inserted it into multiple campaigns at this point, and so I did it again here. And man, does it do the job, man. These are just like, it's one of the best. Like, this should be in Dungeons and Dragons, but it's not. It's just like, it's so good, right? And so Relics of Odium is this entire socketed weapon system, right? So and it's these 5 weapons. It's Anvil Stone, Black Candle, Skull Chopper, Lion's Wall, and Arc of Justice. Like, it's these 5 different socketed weapons and these 5 gems that go into the sockets, and they do all kinds of different things. So King Belvor quests Bearcat, Gurnagar, and Lady Rayluna to go get these, right? And so sends them out on the quest. They venture through the top of Belvor, go through a little bit of Quarn, and then arrive on the other end, where they arrive in a high mountainous plain, right, where these iron yetis are, and everything matches exactly what was in the lore, right? So they know they're on the right path to find these socketed weapons. And that's where we'll pick it up next time. Thank you so much for your patience, letting me share this with you. That is the Numenera WUBRG campaign season 1 recap so far. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion on Belvor and Quarn. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider subscribing and have a fetch millennium.